Damn it. Jackson didn't want to be intrigued, but it seemed as if his body had taken the reins from his brain. That she'd mocked him gave him a measure of respect for her. It was refreshing to have a conversation with a woman who knew nothing about him, seemed to want nothing from him. He was tempted to change her mind on that front. He loved sex. Sex was healthy. It was vital. It's what kept this pathetic population going like the Energizer Bunny. Maybe this delay wouldn't end up being such an awful thing after all. But Jackson didn't jump into bed with women on a whim. Not usually, at least. He'd have to see how the next few minutes played out, and then decide whether or not to bed her. Yes, he was confident enough in himself to know that if he wanted her to share a bed with him, then she would indeed do so. He opened his laptop and pulled up a report. If she didn't speak again, maybe that would be the end of it. If she did, maybe he'd decide to prolong their conversation. As he began working, a few minutes passed in total silence. So maybe their conversation was over. Maybe that small stirring she'd caused in him had been nothing more than a fluke. But her scent began drifting over him. Fingers of jasmine and nutmeg swirled around his nose and slid across his cheeks. Taking a deep breath, he decided that work could wait for a while. There wasn't a lot of time before he and this nameless woman would board the plane. As if his thoughts had caused the agents to actually do some work, an announcement came over the intercom, first in French, then in English. Passengers outbound on Flight 28 with service to JFK, we apologize for the delay once again. We've been informed that boarding will begin in 10 minutes. Please make your way back to gate K26, and we'll get you through the boarding process quickly and have you on your way to New York in a timely fashion. Finally, she murmured, though she didn't seem particularly excited. Most of the people in the terminal were clapping. She seemed to be practicing some sort of breathing exercises as she gripped her armrests. Was she afraid of flying? Thousands of flights take off and land safely every single day, Jackson said, almost surprised by the sound of his voice as he attempted to comfort her. Why would he care if she was frightened? It didn't affect him. She turned her head slowly his way, and her eyes were wide. Yes, I know. He waited, but she said nothing further. Then, why the panicked expression? Probably because, even though I know that flying is much safer than a car or boat, my brain won't listen to reason. Being 30-something thousand feet in the air in a big metal machine is just unnatural, she replied before taking another long breath. I wouldn't say that boats are unsafe. Why had that popped from his mouth? Have you not watched Titanic or Poseidon? I'd say the passengers on those boats weren't too thrilled about how their ocean cruises ended, she said. The Titanic disaster could have been prevented, and Poseidon is fiction. Well, a lot of plane crashes could probably have been prevented too, but with my luck, I'm going to be on a flight that goes down in a fiery blaze of glory, or simply disappears from the radar, never to be seen again. For some reason, she amused him. One minute, she was all mocking and happy-go-lucky, and the next, she seemed like a frightened teenager. Whatever she wasn't boring. Why did you come all the way to Paris if you hate flying? For work. Her breathing had started to grow easier as they continued chatting, and that brought Jackson surprising pleasure. He liked that he was calming her, that the conversation they were having was taking her mind off her fears. Jackson performed billion-dollar deals on a regular basis, deals of serious import and excitement. Calming a frightened woman wasn't in his job description and shouldn't matter to him in the least, but the fact was that it did matter. What kind of work? He asked. She tensed again. Nothing important, she said, then added, I'm Alyssa, by the way. Alyssa Gerard. She held out her hand, and he looked at it as if it were a snake. With a strange reluctance, he held out his hand and clasped her fingers. He should have known better. As their fingers brushed together, a vibration of awareness rocketed through him. That was all it had taken, one simple touch. This woman was dangerous. Good thing he liked danger. Just then his phone rang and he